Welcome back to the Continuous Improvement Lab. This is Season 2, Episode 15.
Great to be here.
And we're thrilled you're joining us. Hey, if you find these deep dives valuable, maybe take a quick second right now to hit subscribe or follow wherever you're listening.
It really helps others find the show.
Absolutely. And a huge shout out, a special thanks to our listeners in 19 different countries now.
Wow, 19. That's fantastic.
It really is incredible knowing you're tuning in from all over.
Yeah.
So here in the lab, our focus is always digging into management operations systems, MOS as we call them.
Right. Finding those elements that can really boost your team's performance.
Exactly. And today we're zooming in on something that, well, it might seem kind of simple on the surface, maybe even a bit soft.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But the sources you've brought today suggest it has some serious tangible power. We're talking about celebrating small wins.
That's it. And specifically, how celebrating those small victories directly fuels team engagement and productivity within that MOS framework.
Okay, so we've got some research insights, and you mentioned a specific case study.
Yep, a really insightful one, along with broader industry data.
Cool. So our mission for this deep dive is to really unpack all that, pull out the key takeaways, figure out why acknowledging these little steps forward is so much more than just, a nice pat on the back, and see how it actually translates into real results for teams out there.
All right, let's dive in then. The core idea, pulled straight from the sources, is pretty fundamental. Recognition fuels motivation.
Sounds like common sense almost.
It does, but the sources really show how strategically using this within your operational system, your MOS, unlocks some serious potential.
So it's not just random praise. It's linking recognition to specific things.
Exactly. The research connects celebrating these small, tangible wins, like, say, finally cracking that recurring problem your team identified using your MOS problem-solving method.
Right, the one that's been bugging everyone.
Yeah, or maybe hitting a KPI target that you track on your performance board every day. It links that celebration directly to better MOS outcomes.
Okay, so the MOS provides the framework, the daily meetings, the tracking boards, the improvement processes.
Precisely. And the goal, according to this research, is to use recognition to basically build a culture where teams feel genuinely driven to stay engaged, to be proactive.
Because they see the positive behaviors, the ones the MOS encourages, actually getting rewarded.
You got it. It creates this really powerful, positive feedback loop within the system itself.
Okay, theory sounds good. How does this actually play out? You mentioned that case study, Titan Assembly Group.
Yeah, Titan, they're a manufacturer.
Yeah.
And the sources describe them as having, a pretty solid MOS already set up. Daily huddles, performance boards, tracking actions.
All the typical components were there.
Right. The mechanics were working, technically. But, and this is the crucial part, engagement was low.
So people were going through the motions.
Pretty much. Teams saw the MOS activities as just, more tasks to check off a list. Compliance was there, but that sense of ownership, that drive to improve, it was missing.
And morale was low, even though performance was actually ticking upwards. That seems odd.
It does, but the sources point directly to the reason. The accomplishments, the wins they were achieving because of the MOS just weren't being acknowledged. They weren't celebrated.
Okay. So the system was kind of working in spite of itself, but the human element was missing.
That's a great way to put it. So Titan decided to tackle this head on. They brought in a specific intervention, a deliberate strategy to start celebrating those small wins.
And they didn't just tack it on, they built it into their routines.
Exactly. It was integrated right into their existing daily and weekly MOS processes.
So what did that look like day to day?
Well, supervisors were trained to actively look for and, importantly, call out specific wins. So in the daily huddle, they might recognize a team for finally resolving that recurring issue they'd been tracking.
Using the MOS tools.
Yes. Or hitting a safety goal that's posted right there on the board.
Yeah.
Or achieving a specific KPI from the performance board, maybe an improvement in cycle time, or reducing equipment downtime. Small, concrete things.
And the celebrations themselves, were they always big, elaborate things?
No, and that's part of why it worked, I think. The sources say they varied. Sometimes it was just genuine, specific verbal praise right there in the huddle.
Quick and timely.
Exactly. Other times it may be small team lunches or targeted spot awards for a particular achievement. They also made a point of sharing success stories plant-wide, making those MOS-driven wins visible to everyone.
So they really closed the loop. You use this part of our system, you achieve this, and we're recognizing that.
Precisely, making that connection explicit.
And what was the result? Did it work?
The impact, according to the sources, was pretty fast. They noted an almost immediate shift in the culture. And get this, within just 2 months of starting this, they saw a 13% increase in employee-reported engagement scores.
Wait, 13%? In 2 months? That feels really quick for changing how people feel about work.
It's significant, isn't it? And the sources tie it directly to this focused recognition strategy. But it wasn't just feelings. They also saw operational improvements in that same short time frame, like a 15% improvement in on-time production completions.
Okay, that's where it gets really interesting for people focused on the hard metrics. 15% better on-time delivery is huge. How did recognizing small wins trickle down into stuff like, equipment uptime or reducing scrap?
Well, the sources argue it fundamentally boosted motivation for problem solving and that sense of ownership at the team level because their efforts were being seen and valued.
They were more likely to actually use the MOS tools proactively.
Exactly. They became more collaborative in the huddles, paid more attention to the performance data, followed through on the action tracking because it led to recognized success. This directly sped up improvements in things like equipment uptime, cutting down on scrap material, getting inventory counts right.
So they stopped seeing the MOS as a chore and started seeing it as a tool for success, a tool that got them positive attention.
That's the essence of it. The case study concludes that embedding this celebration of small MOS-driven wins wasn't just nice. It actively strengthened accountability, reinforced that continuous improvement mindset.
Made contributions visible.
Right. Made them visible and valued, fostered more open communication in their meetings, and ultimately drove real, sustainable productivity gains. It worked because recognition became part of the operational system itself.
That Titan example is really compelling.
Yeah.
But is this just a one-off, something that worked for them? Or are we seeing this elsewhere?
Oh, it's definitely not just Titan. What's fascinating is that the sources highlight this as a broader trend, a key leadership strategy that's gaining traction and showing results across quite a few different industries.
Okay, so beyond just manufacturing floors.
Absolutely. Across manufacturing, sure, but also warehousing, supply chain operations, it's increasingly seen as, well, pretty vital for keeping engagement up and driving those continuous improvement efforts that are often embedded in their MOS.
Is there wider data to back that up?
There is. The sources reference a significant Gallup study, for instance. It found that teams where people feel regularly recognized are actually 21% more productive.
21%.
And show a 22% increase in profitability compared to teams without that regular recognition.
Wow, okay. That's a serious business case right there.
It really is. And think about environments where the work can feel, pretty repetitive day in, day out, like production lines or big warehouses.
And keeping momentum can be tough.
Exactly. So acknowledging those smaller, maybe daily or weekly milestones, like hitting a throughput goal for the shift, or a team successfully reducing downtime on a key machine, it directly reinforces the behaviors you need and keeps that MOS momentum going. It breaks up the grind by highlighting actual progress.
Makes the daily effort feel more purposeful, not just like you're running in place.
Precisely. And this isn't just for operations floors. It extends into areas like engineering and supply chain project teams, too.
How does it apply there? Projects often have long timelines.
True, but celebrating incremental successes within the project is key. The sources mention a Deloitte report finding that engineering teams who make a point of recognizing progress maybe on design iterations or solving a tricky technical problem or improving a process step see real benefits.
Like what?
Like reducing project delays by up to 14% and boosting team morale at the same time. That directly hits timelines and team health.
14% fewer delays just from acknowledging progress along the way? That's significant.
It is. And you see it in supply chain projects specifically, too. Leaders are deliberately building recognition into things like project review meetings. They're rewarding improvements in metrics like order fulfillment accuracy, getting inventory numbers tighter, hitting on-time delivery targets.
So it helps build a culture where CI isn't just a poster on the wall.
Exactly. It becomes something you actively look for, achieve using the system, and then celebrate together.
Okay, so we've got manufacturing, warehousing, supply chain, engineering. What about industries like, say, marketing or service-based businesses? Does the principle still hold?
It absolutely does. The sources show it's being applied there to strengthen how teams work together and ultimately improve client outcomes. There's McKinsey research mentioned.
Oh, yeah?
It found that marketing teams that consistently celebrate campaign milestones, maybe hitting specific engagement targets online, or even just delivering a project phase ahead of schedule, they see about a 16% improvement in their overall project delivery times. And clients are happier too.
16% faster projects and happier clients. That's compelling for any agency or marketing department. And what about customer service?
Similar story. Service organizations that regularly recognize their people maybe for resolving a really tough customer issue or consistently meeting those challenging service level agreements.
Like response times or fixed times?
Exactly. Those organizations report some pretty significant gains, like up to a 12% reduction in staff turnover. People stick around when they feel valued, and customer retention improves too.
So the types of wins might be different. It's not always cycle time on a machine. But the underlying principle is the same. Acknowledge the progress, especially when it's tied to the daily work and the desired processes.
You've got it. And the methods vary too, of course. The sources mention things like public praise and team meetings, maybe setting up peer-to-peer awards where colleagues can nominate each other.
I like that one.
Yeah, it builds camaraderie. Or even just simple, timely shout-outs acknowledging specific actions and their positive results.
Well, the common thread across all these different sectors
is that the most effective leaders, according to this research, see recognizing these small incremental wins as part of the daily fabric of operational excellence. That's the phrase used. It's not just for the huge end-of-quarter wins.
It's baked into the day-to-day. Less about the big finish line party and more about acknowledging the effort and steps taken along the way, often using the MOS structure to get there.
That's it perfectly. It reinforces those specific MOS-driven behaviors. It encourages teams to be more proactive about spotting and solving problems. It builds resilience when things inevitably get tough.
Boosts engagement.
Boosts engagement, strengthens that feeling of team ownership over the goals and the processes. And when that recognition is timely and it's specific to the small win they just achieved, it just creates this powerful momentum. It fuels the next step.
Okay, so let's pull this all together then. For someone listening right now, maybe managing a team, maybe part of a team, what's the big takeaway here?
I think the evidence is really quite strong. You look at the Titan case study, you look at the broader industry data, it all points in the same direction. Taking the time to acknowledge that incremental progress, those small victories that teams achieve through their daily efforts and processes, it has real tangible benefits.
They're collecting better engagement numbers, higher productivity,
increased efficiency, better morale, lower turnover, more successful projects. The list goes on.
And connecting it back specifically to the management operating system, the MOS. Yes, this isn't just about, being the nice boss or creating a fluffy feel-good vibe.
Not at all. The sources frame this as a genuinely strategic, even vital tool within your MOS. It's how you reinforce the exact behaviors the system is designed to encourage.
Right. It helps keep the momentum going, especially when things feel like a grind.
And it can fundamentally shift how the team sees the MOS itself, moving it from feeling like just a bureaucratic process or a checklist
to being a pathway to success that actually gets noticed and appreciated.
Exactly. And I think the key insight across all the sources is that shift towards making recognition a regular, embedded, almost automatic part of how you operate, not just an occasional big event.
And it needs to be timely, close to the actual win and linking it back to the effort and the result, often achieved through those MOS routines.
That timeliness and specificity seem crucial for making it impactful.
So, bottom line, whether you're leading a team on a factory floor, in a service center, guiding complex projects, or really anywhere that performance and continuous improvement matter, the sources make a really powerful case. Pausing to recognize those small steps forward isn't just optional. It's a potent lever for driving performance and making your operational systems truly come alive for your team.
Yeah, it transforms that daily effort into a series of acknowledged, meaningful achievements. A totally different feeling.
That really is a powerful shift in perspective. Okay, So celebrating small wins. Not trivial, not just nice to have, but a vital, evidence-backed way to boost engagement and performance within your team's operational systems.
So the thought to leave folks with might be, consider not just if you celebrate wins, but maybe how consistently you do it, and how specifically you tie that recognition back to the daily grind, the efforts and small victories achieved through your team's actual processes and systems.
Good challenge. What specific small win linked to your process will you look for and make a point to celebrate this week?
And if you'd like more information on this topic or other aspects of continuous improvement, feel free to reach out via our website. It's www.karaswisher.com.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. And as always, a special thank you to our executive producer and founder, Lanier Johnson.
Thanks, everyone.
We'll catch you on the next deep dive here at the Continuous Improvement Lab.